I do, like, depending on how things go at the end of my Judge St. John's website.
I'll have that up.
Thank you.
No, they say Ryan.
Well, we're kind of doing it together, so let Trevor get started. We're tag teaming this.
And I'll step away.
All right.
Just kind of make this TV work.
Yeah, we should have together. I think it's the remote on the left. That's the way I guess that's the.
Let's.
Oh, I see the one there.
No.
Yeah.
Get started? It is. All right. Well, thanks for coming. My name is Trevor Sanis. I'm the seminarian here at St. John's, and I'm working with Terri, and we're going to talk to you about Isaiah and faith in Minnesota, or faith in Minnesota. So we'll talk, form your questions. We'll have a question section afterwards. What we're going to go through is talk about what is Isaiah and what is Faith in Minnesota, explain what those organizations are. We're going to then talk about a December 13th meeting that happened and give a summary of that and what that was the foundation and leading up to where we're at today, and then the roadmap into our next steps. And then we're going to talk about caucus and delegates. And then at the end, we're going to talk about what is our asset? What are we wanting St. John's, you folks, to do and participate in, how you can get involved, and then also answer questions. Does that sound good? So, so Isaiah is what they would call like, if you go to their website, they'll talk about how they're a house with many rooms. And the reason why they say that is that Isaiah is this organization, but it's representing like the barbershop and Black congregations, manufactured home residents, rural organizational groups, Kids Count on Us, congressional basis. So St. John's would fall into that category. And then the Muslim Coalition. And so with that, there's lots of different opinions and groups, but Isaiah then works with all those groups to kind of funnel and come to a consensus of what the goals should be and how we can align our focuses. Because if you go to any Isaiah meetings, they'll talk about like, there's lots of things that we want to do, but they're laser focused on like narrowing it down and aligning all of our resources, because we don't want to burn out. We don't want to overextend. And if we're focused on what we want to get, we have more power and influence with our representatives. So then I just kind of want to highlight a little bit. They talk about, even on their website, 2023 wins that the organization has had. So I want to share these just as examples of some things in the past that they've worked on that they've gotten through. So for example, 100% clean energy, paid family and medical leave, which is 12 weeks for family and 12 weeks for medical, up to 20 weeks. democracy for people. So that's 55, 55K Minnesota rights to vote. So making it, so getting people that maybe were ineligible to vote to get them clear so that they could vote again. Early childhood care and education, and then driver's license for all, and then also housing. So if you know, like rent control, that was one of their initiatives back then. Um, so let me go through my notes. Anything you want to add then on that?
I just want to add that Isaiah and Faith in Minnesota are multi-faith and multiracial groups. And so in addition, there's a number of synagogues, but there are also people that have no faith. They're not part of a faith community. And there also include Zen Buddhists, and Zen Buddhists have been very active in Isaiah.
Yeah. And then some other just recent examples of what they've done, like the clergy sit-in at the airport at MSP, and then the March, January 23rd, and the strike day, the Friday, January strike, abstaining from participating or buying goods or services. And then Isaiah then has worked on then coming up with a focus, the people's agenda. So, and I don't know that it's.
When Trevor and I went to the meeting in December, and it was December 13th, the original focus, you have to consider this before the ice surge, the original focus was addressing Christian nationalism. And for those of you that'll go to 10 o'clock service, Betty talks a little bit about Christian nationalism, but that's kind of how I got involved with Isaiah, is that I was attending a session in November with Matthew Taylor and Angela Denker about Christian nationalism, and signed up to be on the mailing list for Isaiah. And then it kind of took off from there. But it's one of the things is people don't necessarily understand that Isaiah was responsible for the largest national strike in our history. And you don't see them getting a lot of press because they didn't get any. But there's a lot of things that they're doing. They're trying to fly under the radar because in terms of people that attack, that fight back. So they're trying to kind of balance. And I'll be sharing some information of the session that I had yesterday, but they had to pivot very quickly for the January 23rd march. That was not something in the game plan when Trevor and I went to the December 15th meeting. And so one of the things, they're trying to be a model for the country. So Isaiah is working with ministers and clergy and rabbis throughout the country. And we'll be talking when we get to their roadmap for the future in terms of what they're hoping to accomplish. But it is a matter of pivoting. There's constant pivoting. So when we got the people's agenda, which is on the last copy of your page, this is what we were asked to take to our caucuses in terms of this is our agenda that we want, whether it's Republican or Democrat. We wanted them to adopt this as a platform of affordability and housing and childcare and respecting the dignity of every single person.
Terry,
Yes.
so some of us, and maybe many of us, are familiar with Isaiah from way back. And so when we hear that, we remember that and talk about pivoting. They apparently have pivoted over the decades. And you just some of our other churches were members of Isaiah. So do you have any?
Okay, so
just the inception of it.
Trevor and I have talked about this because I said there are people with memory that is very long. And one of the challenges Isaiah faced earlier was the fact that they were not supportive of LGBT. And that has been a pivot, which is why if you look at the build a dignity build a multiracial democracy that honors every person's dignity. That is a huge change, and that is why some people, and as Rebecca was talking to a rabbi just last week. She participates in Faith in Minnesota, but she's not a fan of Isaiah. But Faith in Minnesota is a subset of Isaiah. So some people say, I work with Faith in Minnesota, and some people say I work with Isaiah, and I say I work with both, because I'm on both lists. But yes, we're aware that that has been the past, but this is, we are moving into a new future. Yes, Phil?
My understanding is that Isaiah is, how should I put it? Not political in the fact that it's not pushing for specific people running for office, and Faith in Action is the offshoot of Isaiah that works directly on political campaigns.
And this people's agenda, they were asking people to take whether you caucus as a Republican or a Democrat. And to become a delegate, you were not supporting an individual, you were supporting a platform. And so their goal was to get 10,000 delegates. I don't know if that happened. I am a delegate, and I know at least 2 other people that are involved in Isaiah that became delegates. Trevor wasn't able to make it. I'm going to be going to the coffee hour at 11. I want to see if anybody else from the church became a delegate. But let us get through the rest of our session, then we'll be able to address more questions as soon as we get there. So I've lost track. Where are we?
Yeah, just looking. So we talked about pivot.
What, the roadmap to Palm Sunday?
Yeah,
Are we there?
okay, yeah, let's do that, yep. Then,
Okay, in the handout, you've got 2 that are roadmaps. One is a little diagram, and the other is our roadmap to Palm Sunday. Now, the original plan, again, this is December 13th, we're almost 2 months from there. The original plan was Palm Sunday was going to be a march of faithful people and clergy. Palm Sunday representing, that was the time, and Christ was objecting to the leadership, government, whatever. So they were choosing Palm Sunday as going to be the march. Well, there will be a pivot because March 28th, the Saturday before, the same weekend is the next No Peace March. So they know there's going to be a change. We just don't know yet what it is, because right now they're focused on a new plan of action. And this is where Trevor was gone, and I was in a meeting yesterday for 2 hours. And I'd already printed out, I'd already killed 1 tree. So I didn't print out the new set of directions. I'm going to show people where you can find them on our website. But they have changed what our focus is going to be for the next couple of weeks. And so I shared with Trevor that basically what they're doing is between now and the 18th, which is Ash Wednesday, they've got 2 things that they're focusing on. And what they're trying to do is between now and next Friday is when they vote on ICE. And so there are 2 things that they're doing. One is on Tuesday the 10th, they are talking to, the clergy is going to talk with congressional offices. And it's just clergy. You're not going to see this on social media, but they're going to go with stories of their neighbors, people that have been taken. And so this is a clergy outreach. On Wednesday, the 11th, there are actions that they're taking at Target stores. And you might have seen some articles about Target sit-ins, and that's been organized by the clergy. And then Thursday, the 12th, and again, no social media, there will be no signs, there's no information, and I'll show you where you can find this. On Thursday, the 12th, from 10:30 to 12, there's a prayer vigil at the terminal, Signature Airlines. It's the airlines that's taking immigrants out of the state. And anybody that's already been arrested at the last protest at the airport should not go. Because even though there's no anticipation that anything's gonna happen, things have changed at the Whipple building. So they're saying, don't go if you've already been arrested once. But it is just a prayer gathering, and it's meeting at the Terminal 2, at the light rail station. Terminal 2 is where Sun Country is. That's 10:30 to 12. It's just a prayer vigil. And they're gonna be sharing stories of people that have been taken out. Then what they're trying to do is focus on the demands that they're trying to force Congress as far as the ICE and supporting ICE. So they want ICE out, they want to bring neighbors home, they want economic restoration. And I think if you've read some of the articles in the Star Tribune, they have successfully destroyed our economy. They want to drop charges on observers, and they want to prosecute abusive actions. So they're asking for 5 demands. That's where they're going to the congressional representatives and things. And as I said, I'll bring it up on the screen before we leave. The last pivot is their February month of action. You will see that there was going to be action at the Capitol on Ash Wednesday about economic issues. Pivot. It is now repent and restore. It's Ash Wednesday. Repent and restore. And it's from 1 to 3. And they're calling on Republicans, specifically Speaker DeMuth, to repent from their alignment with ICE. This attack on our neighbors, and to demand that they lead to fund the repairs needed. So that's part of the restore, is giving fundings for those neighborhoods that have been lost a lot of economics. They are looking for a huge turnout. And this is one where, yes, you can bring signs. And I kind of was giggling a little when I was listening to them talk about it. Remember those signs that you see in cartoons? Repent, the end is near. Well, you can bring one of those signs to the state capitol. Repent, the end is near. So this was all stuff that I learned yesterday in a very long 2-hour meeting. And it's just one example where they basically have to kind of be flexible and adjust, and they're constantly adjusting. So they want to basically have to be agile and change as circumstances change. And one of the things that they also talked about yesterday was the fact that because so much attention has been paid that the ICE agents have been drawing down, people think things are better here, and they're not. They're worse. They've actually gotten worse. There was a major episode at the Whipple building yesterday. So they're trying to emphasize stories about the fact that things have not gotten better just because there's been a supposed drawdown. Okay. I think we're where we want to see from St. John's, and then we can open to questions.
Yeah,
So
sounds good.
you're up.
Yep. All right. So what we're looking for is just this group to stay informed. So, and just keep up to date, because like what Terry mentioned, they pivot a lot because they're responding to constant changes within the landscape. And then participate. And that can look in a lot of different ways. So like Terry has started in the process of caucus and then being a delegate. They also have recommendations on like writing your representatives, and then embracing the people's agenda, and then using that as kind of your guiding light to help you understand who you want to support when there's elections. Like, are they amplifying those agenda points, the people's agenda? So yep, so then Isaiah, okay. So, and then sometimes Isaiah or Faith in Minnesota sometimes request volunteers to meetings or neighbors, or like meeting with your representatives. So those are kind of some avenues. So there's different ways of getting involved with Isaiah, I would say. So, and then long term, like reaching out to Terry or myself when you have questions, but we'll work to make sure that we keep updating.
You had mentioned that we're gonna become members.
Oh, yes, yep. And St. John's is going to be a dues paying member of Isaiah. So we're in the process of doing the paperwork and getting that submitted. So we will be actively throwing our teeth into the game, so, and supporting them, so from a financial standpoint. And then I will open up to questions, thoughts.
And we have to keep in mind that Trevor and I are new to this because I just became involved with Isaiah in November. As part of being part of the group Christians Against Christian Nationalism. And Trevor just kind of jumped in December. More or less.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
So it's only been a few months. But we're happy to answer your questions as best we can.
So what I'm hearing is, as opposed to St. John's figuring out, hey, let's try and hold a march or let's do whatever. This is a group that connects all of the different faith communities together, regardless of denomination or religious affiliation or non-affiliation, that it gets to a number of folks so that together we can take an action that is bigger than what an individual
Correct.
community could do. And right now, it looks like the next thing for a lot of folks to get involved in is that march that's coming up in February.
It's not a march, it's just gonna be at the state capitol, and my understanding is it's supposed to be in the rotunda. And
Okay,
so depend on how many people show up. But that's currently, the plan is to be in the rotunda of the state capitol.
so being in the rotunda, if we're in the way too much, this could also be a civil disobedience thing. But they're trying not to be, is that my understanding?
Okay, so let me explain this civil disobedience. When the airport, and I was at the meeting the week before this all, there were 500 of us that were hearing about the civil disobedience at the airport. And people chose to be red, yellow, or green. And red, yellow, or green meant green, if they tell you to leave, you leave. Yellow, you sit there until they say, if you don't leave now, you're gonna be arrested, and they leave. The red group was the group that stays and gets arrested. So with civil disobedience, it's basically what your comfort level is. And if they come and say, you have to disperse, which is what they did yesterday at Whipple, and people didn't, and then things got messy. So at the rotunda, I don't know what is considered a peaceful demonstration versus you were going to be asked to leave.
Yeah.
So it's kind of when they were talking about the airport sit-in the week before it happened. So Saturday before the Friday activities, I knew that was one thing that I can't do. I can't afford to be arrested. I have pets. I didn't want to, I didn't need to worry about not being able to take care of my pets. But there were people that did, and it was mostly clergy, and they said that clergy were going to be the primary red group. So with civil disobedience, they haven't said anything about the rotunda gathering. The gathering for the Signature Airlines, which is supposed to be a prayer vigil, they do not have a permit to march. So this is where it gets a little dicey. If you stay on the sidewalk, it's not a march. But things are different now, and you don't know. So that's why there's no social media on this. You're not going to see any advertisements. What I'm telling you, and what will be available on the handout that I'll show where you can find it. That's it. That's all. You're not going to see it in Indivisible. You're not going to see it in a bishop's message or anything along those lines. Yes, Phil.
Does everybody know that Jared was part of the group that was arrested at the airport?
I hope people do. If you don't, what Phil just said, if you didn't know, Jared was one of the 100 that was arrested at the airport. And I've since met two other people that were, one was a Zen Buddhist and one was a rabbi. And basically, again, Jared's been doing a lot and has been involved. So there are people that are willing to do that, but Jared should not go to the signature terminal for the prayer vigil, because if there are
Family.
people arrested there, the people that were arrested at the airport were told, you get a misdemeanor, but if you're back again, we'll arrest you.
Well, and the people who are arresting protesters are police, right? They're not ICE.
Well, in this case, they were, just regular police.
That's
Yeah.
right, for Jewish, but.
Yeah, depending on where you are and what you're doing.
Yeah.
And Hennepin,
Right,
Yeah.
right, but these protests, I'm thinking are different. events.
Hennepin sheriffs are the ones that were arresting people yesterday. So
Okay,
I equate Hennepin and Minneapolis.
Yeah.
And that's their police forces are very different than St. Paul and Ramsey County. Whole different culture. That's all it was. Guess,
I understand to this extent that I can why things are messy. But still, there's part of me that wishes there was a bulletin board somewhere where you could go and everything's listed, you know, about what's happening. Like I found out about the airport protest 25 minutes before it happened. Jared sent out a last minute email. So, I don't know what anybody can do about that, but it's except have lots of conversation. But I really feel like I'm a step behind on a lot of this.
yeah.
and this is what makes it difficult, because part of the challenge is outside agitators. And that things have gotten violent, and so trying to protect people.
Yeah.
That's where, so for example, it's also, things are popping up. So there are expectations for people that can, every Friday at 2:00 in Minneapolis at the Commons. It's not advertised in a lot of places, but there is an expectation. So there was a smaller crowd on Friday, but it was a significant crowd. But yesterday, they were expecting people to be in downtown Minneapolis, but it was also the memorial for Renee. So there's different events. And it's just a matter of trying to protect people.
Oh, I understand that.
And that's what makes it unfortunate, but when I show you where the handout that has all of what's going on right now is, if people can get comfortable with going there, Trevor and I can talk about, here, put this update, this is what's gonna be happening. What I really hope is, February 18th is something you can talk about as far as, I'm supposed to get 10 people to go with me. So I'll be sending out a message on a particular email list that I have, and asking people, it's great if you're retired, but if you're working, it's not so easy.
So February 18th is which event?
That's the state capitol, repent and restore.
1 to 3.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Ash Wednesday.
It happens to be Ash Wednesday.
It's Ash
Happens
Wednesday.
to it.
So I know there's a service at noon, and then you could just go down to the capitol.
Yes.
I have a little something I could add about trying to know what's happening. I've gotten on the Signal chats. I don't know if anyone else is on Signal. It's just, it's not particularly intuitive. And there's different channels of communication. And they can get what they call hyper local to just your neighborhood or your block. And people often share information that's coming up really quickly. So I found that to be really useful with feelings about me.
Could you mention that once more,
It's-
the capital road,
It's-
when and where?
Okay, Signal and then Capitol. So the Signal is an app.
Yeah. Like a messaging app.
No, I know that, but it's on Ash Wednesday.
February 18th, Ash Wednesday, 1 to 3 at the state capitol.
I think there are 3 services here, so we might be mindful of that.
Got it.
And
What was that,
as it-
Dan? What was that?
there are 3 services here on Ash Wednesday as well. You know, I am encouraged, I mean, there's good reason to not feel comfortable.
Oh,
No, I need to say this, and it's hard to distinguish. And like, Cynthia, I feel left out, you know, even within the church. Because it's not a topic that's, you know, not particularly easy to talk about. But don't we all, and haven't we also set a vigil time or a prayer time when people, anybody can come in and go into the chapel? I mean, haven't we added those times?
I believe the silent prayer is 6 p.m. on Tuesdays.
Yeah, I thought I saw something in addition, you know, I just, to watch even our bulletin, I think is important, and I believe in the power of prayer.
And the other thing we have to emphasize is that this really is focused on a message of love. And when Isaiah is talking about trying to have counter a message for what Christian nationalism, it is the idea that, as Bishop Loya says over and over again, love will win. And so one of the things in the handouts that I gave you, when we met on December 13th, they were emphasizing the fact that this was a big tent, and they wanted to be inclusive of people, and it was reminded yesterday, want to be inclusive of people that maybe you previously disagreed with before, and we're trying to get them into our tent. So there have been what they call defectors. I can't remember the name of the person who was running as a Republican for governor, and he dropped out of the race.
Yeah.
That's a defector. So we're trying to emphasize our message is love and kindness, and their message is hate and fear. So in terms of being able to do something, and I understand because they are, I know, and I'm not going to say her name, but many people know that one of our parishioners is very involved in the signal chat and showing up to support neighbors that are being threatened by ICE. And she does this, and I admire her. I did do constitutional observer training just so that I could know more. I'm on signal from my neighborhood, but it's not everything, not something that everybody can do and that everybody's comfortable with. But the one thing you can do, if you don't have 5 calls on your phone, that's an app where you can contact your representatives about particular issues. So when I call up the document and show you what their 5 demands are, you can contact, and I've already done this, I've already contacted my representatives are Betty and Amy and Tina. And I sent a message to all 3 of them, and 2 of the 3 have responded back in terms of not voting for funding for DHS. So those are things that you can do, is you can contact your representatives. You do it from the safety of your home. It's a phone call or an email, and they will respond. And in terms of what Isaiah and Faith in Minnesota are doing, this is a marathon. It's multiple marathons. We're not in a sprint. We're going to be doing this for a while. So there are different actions that may come up. Prayer vigils, things that you can do. Standing on a corner with a sign, lots of those going on. Okay, I saw somebody's hand go up, but I'm not sure who. Yes.
A couple of questions. Can you elaborate on the actions towards targeting towards Target? And there's something on the 11th you said at Target centers. Is that?
I think that's
or
Target actions that 5 to 7 p.m. at Cottage Grove, Roseville, and Richfield, and East St. Paul. I'm not sure where in East St. Paul. There's more information at South now, Minnesota.
is that in response to them not protecting workers? Is it response to
Yes.
the corporate pullback from DEI, or what's the?
In terms of target, it's multiple reasons, primarily. Some of you may have seen, there was a letter that went from 60 CEOs. Some people have called it milk toast. But at least they made a statement. But the companies that they're targeting, Target, Home Depot, Enterprise, yeah, I'm gonna have to look it up. Delta. That's 4.
Hilton, DR Horton.
I'm sorry,
Hilton and DR Horton are the last two.
okay. What they're, one of the reasons they're primarily focused on Target is national.
Correct.
And I've already told all my Facebook friends, if you're still shopping at Target, just drop me now, just unfriend me. Because, and I put it up once every few weeks, say, if you're still shopping at Target, get off of my friends list. Because it is a Minnesota company and they have not come out in a strongly worded statement about what ICE is doing. They've allowed ICE to stage in their parking lots. They have had employees that have been abducted by ICE. There were 2 employees in Richfield. They were both US, but they were not, illegal or undocumented. And Target is not that stated. They've got a new CEO and there's been no change. So that's why they're focusing on Target. And Target has suffered from their rollback of DEI. So we just like to keep the pressure.
They also want post to Fourth Amendment. Notice. There's that amendment in search and seizure.
Yeah, the Fourth Amendment, no search and seizure.
Right.
They won't post that for their workers.
Right.
Yeah.
And different, when we were organizing for the 23rd, that was one of the things we were trying to get as many places as possible to post the Fourth Amendment, in terms of what they will and won't do, recognizing the rights of their workers. So
I know people who work for corporate Target and they are all for everything we're talking about. So, I mean, I understand keeping the pressure on. I also, I have friends who work at Target, so or work for Target, and so it's a.
it's a delicate balance. It's a delicate
I would
balance.
say
And I
unfriend me because they work for Target and they guard the distribution centers and, Target. It's a good, I think it's a good orientation to have, keep the pressure on, but I'm just saying. I'm a little more, have to work both sides or talk both sides.
And everybody does what they can, and recognizing that, there is not one size fits all. We're in very different times, and the clergy are trying to emphasize that they want a statement from the CEO, and that just hasn't been covered. So,
Thank you.
okay.
Terry.
Yes, Patty.
You touched on it, you said that Target is feeling the impact of people not shopping there. Has anything come out about the impact of the first blackout? I think it was the 23rd of January.
I can tell you that 1 in 4 Minnesotans participated in that event, and 38% of Minnesotans stayed home that day. And one of the things they talked about yesterday was some people may have heard there's a 3.5% threshold. So we hit the 0.25. But it was the largest national strike ever. Which surprised me, because I know there were a lot of strikes in the 20s and stuff, but this is the largest national strike. I have not seen a number in terms of the economic impact. I just saw the number of people that participated. So if you consider, let's see, the organizing started on Saturday, the Friday before. And I want to give a huge shout out to Erin Weber Johnson, because she helped me. I needed, my responsibility was to get 10 small businesses to close. And with Aaron's help, we made that goal. So I do know that there were, over 300 businesses. That included Red Balloon, which is owned by one of our parishioners. It included a lot of stores on Grand, Mischief, the child toy store, children's toy store. And I think this is where those businesses took a hit for the sake of making a stand. And I'm hopeful that's part of the restore that is part of the February 18th. The focus is the fact that the reason that they're focusing on particularly Lisa is because she's the one that invited Nick to do the filming that started this whole thing about fraud and daycare centers and led to the ICE. And so, and if you follow any of the statements by Tom Emmer or Michelle Fishback, or Stauber or Finstad, they're all still supporting what's going on at the detriment of what's happening to our communities. And there are a lot of businesses that have closed. A friend of mine was trying to go to an Hispanic restaurant on University Avenue. They keep the doors closed, so they're locked. So they let somebody in, they lock the door, they go to fix the food, somebody else comes, they open the door. That's the hard way to run a business if you're running a restaurant where you're both cooking and door monitoring. So a lot of places have closed. Was it you, Phil, who was talking about Casa Maria?
Yeah, Casa Maria is the food shelf outreach from St. Nicholas Episcopal Church in Richfield.
Right.
That caters to a large heavily Hispanic populated neighborhood over there. Marina Turner Romero is the deacon, that is very active in that, and the number of volunteers, I mean, I was over there a couple of times, the number of volunteers there has just mushroomed, and they're feeding food to 500 families. Originally 100 a month ago, and they're doing amazing work.
And so there are places like Casa Maria, I know Henry Crew Brown, and we're doing the Pack the Pews. But I also know they're looking for volunteers, to do food shelves and delivery. So there are any number of opportunities to help in these unprecedented times. Yes.
And the second question is about, I have pastor friends from around the country who really want to be involved and be supportive. Are there Isaiah networks in other states, or could they patch in here to be a voice in their communities about what's going on? Or can you talk about maybe networking outside of the state? And I know maybe that's.
And Isaiah is networking with other states. If you want to talk about that, I'm going to try and call up the handout that I didn't print out copies of.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that. I know they're working on it. I know that the Minnesota section is very strong. I'm not sure. I'll have to tap into that and have to follow up.
On that, wasn't there, there were clergy from all over the country that came to the airport from that, and so there, but
Yeah.
I don't know what that big an action
Right.
or
Right.
that brought those together.
I think sign up for the Episcopal Church of Minnesota's Tuesday email from our bishop, Bishop Craig Lawyer. You can go to episcopalmn.org to sign up for the weekly newsletter.
How do I keep this up without it disappearing?
Or do you need to go to the search engine? Let me do it.
There were literally.
Thank you. Okay, so
You need to go to.
it was under members.
Discussion.
Yep.
Maybe just wait until to show them exactly where to go.
Okay.
I can do it while you're telling.
Okay, because I'm keeping track of the time and I know people are gonna have to leave. St. John the Evangelist, if you go under members, if you highlight members, you'll see discussion forums. Click on discussion forums And if you,
Sorry.
okay, under Sunday Faith Forums. And click on that. And new actions discussed. So that entry there, if you click on that. And it has a link to articles, but here's our ICE out demands. So if you want to contact your representatives, ICE out demands, IDOS, ICE out, more, no more funding, prosecute agents, and they're focusing on businesses to claim the Fourth Amendment. In terms of other actions, here's where the Greater Minnesota Congressional Clergy meetings, the Target actions, the Thursday actions, and story collection and Thursday night vigils. And I'm sorry, I apologize, I can't remember what that is. These are ICE demands that, in terms of representatives to put on your cards. And then the next big action, Wednesdays, Ash Wednesday, repent, restore at the Capitol 1 to 3, calling on Republicans to repent from their alignment with ICE and the attack on Hager.
Terry, what's the time and date of?
1 to 3.
Yes, but you mentioned also the Signature Airlines.
Signature Airlines is 10:30 on 10:30 on the 12th. So if you're going, they recommend either the light rail station, again at the Sun Country, the Terminal 2, or park in the short-term parking and get over to the parking at the MSP and take the light rail over to the Terminal 2.
That's
Which one?
yeah, I'm already on the.
Any other questions for the rest? Benny, great serving this morning. I'm sorry I didn't see you.
You could say,
Yeah, can we go back to signal chat for a minute?
Sure.
Because when we had that first meeting with Jared at the coffee hour, I don't know how many weeks ago now.
I'm sorry.
The meeting with Jared at the coffee hour, everybody just sat in the circle, everybody who was interested in talking about these issues. And he said at that time that he was hoping St. John's could develop their own signal chat group. Did that ever happen?
I didn't follow up on that.
We did set up a signal chat and we just started to use it, but then we determined that we needed to talk more
Thank you,
about
Trevor.
how to look at it and what it would be used for before we jump in with both meetings. So that is on our agenda to talk about either later today or tomorrow.
Okay.
And assuming that we do decide to open that up and make it a stream for parishioners to use, then we would start sharing then.
Okay, I've been sort of waiting for news about that. I guess.
Yeah,
So,
so and I'll see
okay.
you Monday, tomorrow night,
Right,
decoration fair, so if I have an update, I can help you get it set up then.
I could throw up another low risk opportunity to join in with the resistance singing. If you know about the resistance singing, oh, yeah. I live in Minneapolis, but I think yesterday at House of Hope there was a gathering.
There was a gathering yesterday at House of Hope. And that's where it's sometimes there's multiple things going on. I just have like, do people talk to each other? Kind of like the march that's happened, the No Kings March is happening on Saturday before we originally do Sunday. I have to call this to a close because the 10 o'clock service is starting, but Trevor had to leave, but you can contact Trevor or I if you have questions, and we're gonna work out trying to keep people up to date on what's going on. And I will be at hour at 11 downstairs. If anybody has more questions after your service, but I don't want you to miss Benny's service. I'm going over the whole thing. So thank you for coming, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. I still haven't figured out signal. I'm hoping to get some pointers.
Oh, it's not.
That'd be great.
I found this. I mean, I signed that. Yeah, I think I'm doing it.
Yeah, thanks, another. Well, we can see.
My daughter, they're going to school. I was at the podcast and okay, yeah, I was, what I'm hoping to do is, legal space address. Last week. I get on the, oh, there might be something in the funding side.
Okay.
I'm like, so we're, yeah. 7 o'clock, since I was gonna be with the next step, and then Steve wanted to do that, right, two in the, I'm doing the process. And we also have it here, I know I can choose those skills. I know I need 67 this day. Okay, so 67 in here. Right, so, right. I did 64. Oh, me too. Okay, so I don't know if we're 67. No. Thank you for, I think that's me. Thank you so much. Meeting at our university. I am gonna be gone the next few weeks, that's about it, not for the meeting, but I'm also. Thank you. Thank you for all this. Well, cause yeah, that's my saying. Yeah, for me, that's, I know myself out there, putting our faith in action. And that is what you'll really get means something like so yeah. Nice. It's an action for some. Thanks, we are. Thanks, Liz. Oh, okay. Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, he's a nice guy. Oh. Hey, one more. I got a couple now. I'm gonna be some tonight, purely bourbon and I'll teach them about how to sit with you. Yeah. Okay. How are you doing?
I like the color.
Oh, thank you. That's good. Kathy, I'll see you at Sean. Yes. Okay. Just like just. All right, thank you. Bye. Thank you for the kind words. That really, that means so. Oh my God, that's very good. Yeah, or that. We'll come back next week. That's why, that's gonna be the last one, huh? No, it's not. It's next week. Well, calling all that.
I'm saying. I fair thing to get over it. Stop being so. More. Things didn't have. There's a word on it, that the reality is that the state and people in the government whose idea is that we are as Christians in this we can't see other than we're in stuff more than I know. To me, people don't understand.